Hello and welcome to Black Dragon Gaming. My name is Kategas Ira, and I will be your host this evening. We're playing Tyranny today, as you can see. This is not a completely blind playthrough because I wanted to get to know the systems of the game at least a little bit so I could make intelligent decisions during my character creation. So I've played a few hours. But let's get started. Oh, right. Show off the options. Let's see. I've got show reputation on because the character knows a hell of a lot more about the world than I do, and would be able to tell what is within tradition for the disfavored, or the Scarlet Chorus, or what have you, a lot easier than I could. Especially since that's part of the main character's job, is to do that sort of thing. Auto pause is just character death, combat starts, enemy spotted, low health, hidden object found, that sort of thing. That way it'll stop when I see traps. Actually, yes, let's center camera on auto pause. It'll stop when there's an emergency in combat, etc., etc. I haven't changed the controls any. I've turned on Gibbs because I like seeing people explode into tiny chunks of meat and bone. I've turned on colorblind mode because I noticed in Pillars of Eternity that the colorblind mode just looked better than the non-colorblind mode. I don't know. Yeah, that should be it. I'm not on full screen. I've got it forced into a full screen window with a third-party program right now because that's how I record things. Yeah, I'm not turning on death because I don't like permadeath. I dislike it a lot. Well, I mean, I don't like permanent death in story-based games, let's say. Permanent death in just like a straight mechanical game like Tales of Magial, fantastic, love it. But this, yeah. Yeah. Yes, save. Let's get started. We're playing on normal. I'm not going to turn on expert mode because expert mode turns off all of the hints and I don't know, everything really, and I didn't get far enough into the game to be sure whether or not that I had already seen all of the hints, so I don't want to miss out on some feature or some bit of knowledge that will help a great deal just because I was like, yeah, I'm good, I'm fine. Tea. Oh, that's good.
For over 400 years, the armies of Kairos the Overlord have swept across the known world. All who stood against them fell before their might. Even the Archons, women and men of immense power, were forced to kneel, chained to the Overlord's will. Now Kairos' final conquest has come to our corner of the world, and two of the Overlord's armies compete for the honor of taking our lands. The elite disfavored, and the teeming horde of the Scarlet Chorus. The voices of Nerat, spymaster and Archon of secrets, guides the fierce and undisciplined masses of the Scarlet Chorus. With each battle, the Scarlet Chorus grows stronger, as the defeated are given a simple choice: serve or die. Graven Ash, Archon of War and the Overlord's most loyal general, leads the disfavored. Though small in number, Kairos' ironclad legion has never met true defeat in open battle. Watching over the two generals is Tyranny, the Adjudicator, Archon of Justice, eldest of Kairos' minions. Tyranny brings Kairos' laws to newly conquered lands, aided by the Fatebinders, judges and executioners of the Overlord's laws. You were among the youngest of the court of Fatebinders when Kairos' armies came to our lands. How could we have known that the fate of thousands would rest in your hands.
You know what? I'd say this game is a cigarette smoking game. Ah, delicious. Anyway, I've already got my character planned out. Let's roll a die to figure out if we're playing male or female at this point. We are playing female. I need to figure out a way that I can put that on screen for you guys so you know that I'm not lying or whatever, because, I don't know. Just, it seems like a thing that I should do. Alright. In accordance to, in relation to this stuff right here, all the lore and everything, I'd love to read it all out to you and everything and make sure that you know what I know on it. But there's so much of it, and almost all of the episodes would be just reading out lore. We'd never get anywhere if I just read out all the lore that we ran across ever. So I'm going to read out some of the conversations and some of the lore that I haven't seen yet, or is really pertinent to what's going on, but that's about it. Most of the time I'll just open it up, leave it up for a few seconds for you, so you can pause it and read it yourself. Sorry, November, allergy season here. Anyway. And, yeah, maybe one day I'll make a lore episode where I just read all the lore, so people who don't want to pause the video to read everything can catch up with everyone else, but I don't know. Anyway, I've already got my character planned out. Let's do this. Face is fine. Looks good. Alright, portraits. Looks about it. Alright, so we're going with War Mage because I like being a sword and board. Or not a sword and board, but a sword and magic sort of character. It's pretty nice. So we're going Great Sword. Wait a second. Did I not turn the volume down enough? Alright, I'm gonna have to get into that in a minute. I'm sorry if you can barely hear me, okay? Well, you'll have to just deal with it for a second. I'll burn through this as quickly as I can in that case. Stick with that. Let's go there. Alright, and we'll go Contagious. Next. Actually, I can just turn it down over here. How's that? Can you hear me better? I hope you can, because I can't read your mind or anything. Alright. Let's see. No magic staff skills required. Let's kick some points into Frost. Some lore, because I want to be able to use awesome spells. And yeah, that should be good. Alright, Conquest. I've already got my path planned out through the Conquest as well. But I'll read it all out to you so you know what's going on.
All the world has fallen to Kairos, and now the Overlord's eye is on the Tears, our home. The last corner of the world free of Kairos' reign. Two armies, the Disfavored and the Scarlet Chorus, march south from the Northern Empire, the last realm to fall to Kairos a century prior. In the early days of 428, Kairos' armies arrive at the Gates of Judgment, the mountainous border that we Tearsmen so long believed unassailable. Unable to agree on a unified plan of defense, the various leaders of the Tears sit and wait for each other to deal with the conquerors, until it's too late.
Alright. During the Conquest, you will decide your character's actions during Kairos' invasion of the Tears, shaping the world through which you will adventure over the course of the game. Each choice you make affects your character and how major factions of the Tears respond to you. Your decisions matter. Choose wisely. The bastard city stood on the northern border between Kairos' empire and the Tears. Built upon a natural harbor at the crossroads between realms, the city was a nexus of commerce. To the Tears, it was the center of all wealth. To a northerner, it was little more than a backwater trading post. Its symbolic status as a gateway to the continent made it a natural first target in Kairos' military conquest. Circumstances were ideal for you to prove your worth as a soldier in Kairos' armies. Taking the city would send a message to the rest of the Tears. Kairos' will is insurmountable. Alright. In this one, it's less of a choice. Actually, I haven't even said that yet. Alright. I'm going to stick as close to the role of Fatebinder as a judge as possible. I'm not going to play favorites or anything like that. It's just, you'll notice that we get a lot of reputation and we side with one faction a lot. That's primarily because that faction tends to break the rules a hell of a lot less than the other faction does. I'll still try and, gain reputation with the other faction, but they break rules a lot, and I'm supposed to be a judge, the executioner of Kairos' law, and I'm going to do my best to play as that. This particular event is not so much a choice between who's breaking the law versus who is. It's more you're sieging a city, and I would rather have a phalanx in front, between me and the enemy than a mass of bodies covered in blood and piss. So, yeah. Anyway, the armies of Kairos took the battle to the gates of judgment, trumpeting the opening call of the Conquest of the Tears. The two armies brought their distinctive sense of order and chaos to the assault. You went to battle alongside the army whose approach best suited your strengths. Standing shield to shield with Kairos' ironclad elite, you advanced on the mercenary army purchased by the nobles of the bastard city. The Legion wanted to send a message to the Tears that superior breeding and disciplined training would win the day. The bastard city learned too late that a military is earned and never bought. The mercenary army quickly found themselves outclassed by the superior tactics and formation of the disfavored. Those few who lived to the end of the battle were rounded up, the weak executed, and the strong enslaved to haul the army's wagons to the journey south. See, I like both armies, I really do. But I also hate both armies. A lot. Like, for example, I love the disfavored discipline, tactics, and training, as well as their, I really like the fact that they look like Romans. But that's just aesthetic stuff. But what I don't dislike is the gate to recruitment. You have to be a northerner to become a disfavored, basically. You cannot be anyone else in the Empire. You just can't. It just doesn't work like that for them. They will never recruit someone actually into their proper ranks that is not a northerner. And that bothers me a great deal because they're turning aside a huge recruitment pool. Secondly, they go more with tradition rather than what's practical much of the time. And third, they often use slaves to haul army wagons and shit instead of, just recruit them and use their own soldiers for it. But yeah, in the Scarlet Chorus, I love the fact that they are very practical in nature, but at the same time, they are undisciplined, chaotic, and very hard to control. The Scarlet Chorus is an army of might makes right, period. That's it. That's all it is. Might makes right. Oftentimes there are... More often than not, fights break out between the squads, if you can even call them that, where in one of the squads is completely decimated and the other one is down to half strength. It's a little stupid, really. And then they also use slaves even more than the disfavored do. So, they both have something I like about them, but at the same time, they're still mostly shit. Anyway, let's move on to the next phase of the siege. Alright, let's see. Let's find a way to feed them. Against the most optimistic projections, the Disfavored and the Scarlet Chorus made short work of the local defenses. They did so well that the armies quickly outpaced their supply caravans. Troops were plentiful, but food was scarce. You only had time to execute one plan to secure provisions. Bleh. On this one, I'm gonna go with the Disfavored, because the Scarlet Chorus one is more about raping and pillaging the entire countryside, whereas the Disfavored only takes stuff from the merchants, which is the lesser evil, basically. I would still rather they didn't raid at all, but you authorized Disfavored troops to confiscate food and supplies from the traveling merchant caravans. The Tears had already spent ignorant centuries glutting themselves outside of Kairos' law. See, I like playing the villain and everything, but I'm the practical sort of villain when I play this stuff, where loyalty is better than fear, basically. If you have to rule through fear, then you have done your job improperly. But if you gain their loyalty and make it known that you actually do bring peace and prosperity, and it's better to live under your rule than outside of it, then people will willingly submit to your rule. If you have to use shock and awe tactics to get them to submit, then it's just asking for more rebellion, really. After raiding the wagons of unsuspecting caravans and securing days' worth of provisions and supplies, the Disfavored found a cache of goods hidden behind a hidden panel. There we go. Swapped some order. They confiscated potions and elixirs bound for secret contacts within the bastard city. The hall filled the Disfavored larder with... Man, I'm fucking up speaking today. They confiscated potions and elixirs bound for secret contacts within the bastard city. The hall filled the Disfavored larder with provisions for the following year and denied the defenders of the bastard city supplies that would be desperately needed in the siege to come. The armies of Kairos amassed around the bastard city, the first bastion of the Tears to fall. Both armies longed to storm the walled outpost, the Scarlet Chorus howling for plunder and the Disfavored forming an unbreakable shield wall. Your prowess on the field of battle had carried them this far, but there was one more step before total victory. Both of the armies had inspired schemes to take the bastard city. Which did you support? Let's see. That's nice. Let's just ruin it. If you burn everything, you're not going to have anything left to rule, damn it. Alright, let's go with practicality here. This ability is far better than the other for what I have planned for my character. Anyway, with heroic courage and legendary determination, the Disfavored battered the gates of the bastard city to splinters. Those who fell under the constant hail of arrows or cascades of boiling pitch left the battlefield temporarily, only to appear hours later as Archon Graven Ash's protection healed their numerous wounds. In time, the gates gave way, and Kairos' forces spilled into the city walls with resounding cheers of victory. Oh yes. Alright, let's go... It's a siege, I think. Yeah, and this one is the enforcement of law, so that's more our style as a judge. Year 2 of Kairos' Conquest. Man, this is already taking 20 minutes. Fuck. Years ago, Lethian the Bold... Lethian? Something like that. Lethian the Bold founded a small merchant town at the intersection of the ancient Old Walls. Still don't know what Old Walls are, by the way, and I've heard them mentioned a lot. Anyway, a pact between the settlers and a mercenary company meant that caravans were able to travel without fear of bandits or bane, and the town thrived in modern insignificance. Modest insignificance. Bleh. My tongue does not want to work. Lethian's crossing drew Kairos' attention for the iron deposits in the surrounding hills. With the region under Kairos' control, the northern smith mages set up workshops to refine ore and arm the Disfavored with the finest weapons in the known world. The Archon of Secrets dismantled the mercenary support with a generous bribe, taking the crossing in the bloodless victory. Tunon dispatched you to travel alongside Kyrus' forces and bring order to the region. Oh yeah. Kyrus' smith mages worked day and night to create weapons. No one faulted their dedication, yet production was low. The plans that came to light proved divisive to the disfavored and Scarlet Chorus. On one hand, any additional manpower was needed for fighters, not forges. On the other hand, the celebrated weaponry of Kyrus' armies needed to be fiercely guarded. I think, yeah, the Scarlet Chorus wants to conscript help from the Beastmen, which is not typically a great idea as far as I know, because their loyalty only extends as far as you can beat them into the ground. So, In this case, I would rather not take recruits from someone, but it's better than having to rely on something that's inherently disobedient. The Scarlet Chorus took refugees from the recent influx and forced them to serve in Kyrus military. You repurposed these individuals to haul wagons of iron for the smith mages. This proved an inconvenience to the Scarlet Chorus, who relied on their force of numbers to be effective on the field. See, I don't like that. Anything that has to rely on numbers alone is not good. The population of Lethian's crossing had swelled from the emptying of lands destroyed by Kyrus' armies. Although the Scarlet Chorus fought to keep the refugees under their control, the need for production could not wait. The new recruits were reassigned to haul iron ore from the treacherous mine shafts, labor more befitting slaves than Kyrus' artisans. Though the disfavored grew stronger with the advantage of more weapons, the Scarlet Chorus diminished as their ranks found themselves with one less opportunity for growth. Let's see. Kyrus' armies used Lethian's crossing as a reprieve from the war. The city grew more crowded as a mercenary army hired by the Archon of Secrets occupied the barracks, where they drained resources and escalated tensions. The disfavored wanted nothing to do with the sellswords, but the Scarlet Chorus sought to invite them into the fold. See, mercenaries are notorious for breaking rules, and the disfavored want to isolate them from everything else and enact strict laws against disorderly conduct, which fits with our whole judge thing, so let's go with that. The disfavored demanded that the mercenaries be kept far from Kyrus' armies. The righteous occupiers would not deign to share provisions or supplies with degenerate sellswords. You built a separate barracks and mess hall in order to keep the sellswords out of the army's way, and enacted strict laws against disorderly conduct. The elite soldiers from the north had little patience for the sellswords under the best of circumstances, and showed open contempt for mercenaries born in the tiers. They demanded that all armies, including their own soldiers, follow strict military discipline and be restricted to quarters when not on duty. After some discussion, you agreed that separate accommodations were the best possible solution. Though the sellswords balked at the oppressive foreign custom, you convinced them it was the safest recourse. Oh yeah. Having to reline at every puff that... I think this will be episode 0. Just because there's not going to be any real gameplay in this. We're already at 25 minutes here. Anyway, tragedy struck when a mercenary hired by the Voices of Durant injured a forge-bound artisan. By the way, forge-bound are mages that use their magic to create weapons instead of anything else, really. Instead of, like, blowing walls apart, they craft stuff. It's pretty cool. Leaving him unable to practice his craft. Tunon ordered the mercenaries to leave the city in the hands of Kyrus' more responsible servants. Only a token garrison could be left behind while the armies returned to the front. As the disfavored and Scarlet Chorus showed increasing tension and hostility towards each other, Tunon decreed it best that only one force control the crossing. And I'm pretty sure if we went with Scarlet Chorus, they would just rape and pillage everything. So we're going to go with Disfavored, because they tend to not break any laws. The Disfavored placed a modest garrison in the settlement of Lethian's Crossing. Though the force was larger than might be needed to police the small settlement, protecting the forge-bound ironsmiths became the true agenda of the defense force, as these magical craftsmen kept the disfavored invasion force suited in iron. Relieved at the departure of the Scarlet Chorus, the citizens of Lethian's Crossing felt they got the least of two burdens. You received word from Graven Ash thanking you for your decision. The forge-bound and their weaponry could not be entrusted to the voices of Narat. Alright, let's see. Siege. 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 Yeah, basically we just choose whatever. I have previously chosen this one. So, I'm gonna go with this one, because that's what I know. Alright. The nation of Azur, once the richest settlement of the Tiers, sat on a verdant, fertile plain. As the disfavored clashed with Azur's defenders, the Scarlet Chorus contended against the region's tribal beastmen, who protected their ancestral lands with incredible fury. Kairos dispatched the Archon Karen to break the stalemate and force Azur into submission. The colossal man of stone and flesh arrived as instructed, but earning his cooperation was a tall order, even for you. Alright, let's see. Karen, the Archon of Stone, carved a deadly path through Azur, using his powers to blight the land. The Scarlet Chorus complained that his tactics left no farmland to feed the growing army. Since Karen marched with the disfavor, the Scarlet Chorus held the Legion responsible for the destruction and lost harvests. Yeah, well, fuck you. The Archon is sort of beyond my purview here. Just because he's an Archon, a little bit higher rank than me. You ruled that the Archon of Stone may do as he wishes with the soil, being its natural master, and instructed the Scarlet Chorus to better control their numbers and plan for the lean seasons. Yeah, get disciplined, bitch. This favored argued that Karen's tactics were a small price for the rapid conquest of such a large area, and you wholeheartedly agreed. Though you attempted to reason with the Scarlet Chorus, they refused to limit their numbers, insisting strength in numbers was their... Okay, I'm sorry. Insisting strength in numbers was their core tactic, and your proposal insulted their values. What values? The only values you have are murder. The disfavored, however, were emboldened by your ruling, and Karen's mighty onslaught continued apace. Let's see. Scarlet Chorus. Yeah. Karen's madness. The Archon of Stone refused to rejoin the war camp, loudly denying Kairos' claim over Azur. Nothing less than a full unit of soldiers could subdue the treasonous Archon, yet neither army was willing to risk lives tracking him down. You delivered the order that sent Kairos' forces marching after Karen. Let's go with Disfavored, because they're the ones most likely to actually be victorious. When Karen brought them victory, the Disfavored hailed him as one of their number. When Karen defied the will of the Overlord, it fell to the Disfavored to track him down and get answers. As far as I know, there hasn't been a patch yet, so for like the next 7 or 8 episodes or something like that, you're just gonna see typos and shit all over the place. I do batch recording, so there's not much to be done about that, I guess. Whatever bugs and typos and issues there are with the game as it is right now will stay for a while. Maybe by the next recording session they'll be fixed, but we'll see. Subduing a wayward Archon was a larger task than rank-and-file soldiers could manage on their own. The disfavored scouts returned to the camp after a long journey, bearing news of irregular rock formations and beastmen chanting Karen's name. They found neither hide neither hide nor hair of the Archon of Stone, but his presence and impact on the Azure wilderness were evident. Unease spread throughout the army as Kairos' forces wondered what Karen's actions could mean. The Edict of Stone. The Archon of Stone made brazen declarations that Karen had no claim to rule the Tiers. Soon after, word arrived that Kairos would dispatch this rebellious minion with an edict. The disfavored took solace in knowing the edict was coming, and the commanders petitioned you to be the bearer of justice. Tunon selected you for the honor of proclaiming Kairos' Edict of Stone, a magical spell with the power to destroy the Archon. As he sensed his approaching doom, Karen began an assault on Plainsgate, the largest human settlement of the area. It fell to you to send Kairos' forces into a suicide mission to halt Karen's destruction while you completed the proclamation of the edict. In this case, it's less of a judge thing and more of a tactical decision. I wouldn't go with both armies because it's an Archon. Like, holy shit. This guy could destroy a single army on his own. And if I sent both of them at him, yeah, they might do a little bit better than just one army, but they're still going to all die. So really the best approach is to drown them in numbers, which is unfortunately a tactic that I don't agree with, but in this case it kind of has to be done. So, Scarlet Chorus. Believing that there was a slight chance that their superior numbers could hold off the Archon of Stone, you sent the Scarlet Chorus to delay Karen's march on Plainsgate. You hoped that you would have enough time to read Kairos' edict before Karen reached the city. The Scarlet Chorus went into battle wearing fierce grins. How often did they get to attack an Archon? Soon enough, their war songs twisted into shrieks of terror. Plainsgate still remained, but not after facing significant damage. You blocked it all out as you read the Edict of Stone. The earth under the battlefield groaned open, spitting up outcroppings of rock that obliterated the surrounding landscape for miles. From your vantage in the rear guard, the screams of the chorus continued without end. When the land heaved open to take Karen, the Archon allowed it with serene acceptance. You know, Kairos has a hard-on for destroying vast amounts of land that he could use. I don't get him. But, anyway, with the lands blighted and unrecognizable, the realm of Azure was left utterly ruined by the events of the war. In times to come, the Tiers would call this blasted landscape the Stone Sea, for the treacherous rock formations and persistent quakes became the defining feature of this once verdant land. The Scarlet Chorus established a sprawling camp in the shattered rocky terrain and quickly absorbed those displaced by the upheaval of the land. These hapless refugees were put to work as slaves and soldiers, and the Chorus slowly built themselves a makeshift fortress in the blighted, quake-ridden realm. Your tour of duty in the broken lands of Azure was complete. You didn't have long to rest before Tunon called you into service once more. As far as I know, that's the end of Conquest. Yes, it is. Alright, well, thank you for tuning in, and if you have managed to reach it this far into the episode, sorry that it was so long, and I promise the next episode will have actual gameplay in it. Without further ado, thank you, and goodbye.